Hi, welcome back to Nigel Kay's YouTube channel. It is Sunday the 5th of May and today we're going to go through the tomato plant growing again. As you can see, the tomato plants have probably, I hope they've grew quite a bit since our last video or last week. As I say, they're approximately 2.5 foot tall, they're nice and green, they look healthy, they're bushy, so that tells me if it looks well, it is well. So this week we're going to discuss the feeding programme and what we've done so far. So just to recap, so far we're actually watering the plants 2 or 3 times a week as weather dependent, how quick they're drying out. And we're actually feeding at the moment once a week with liquid seaweed extract. The one I use is quite a good one, it's Grow a Lot 50% seaweed extract. That contains roughly 30 to 40 different vitamins, minerals, trace elements, everything the plant needs to be healthy, but a lot of those things are usually not available in standard plant foods. So I use the seaweed extract as well as a standard plant food as well for feeding. So at this stage, as we can see, we've probably got the third truss forming, but truss number 1 here, truss number 1 here, truss number 2, you can see it's coming, and truss number 3, which is just starting to form at the tops now. It's important that we realise with tomatoes that these flowers, these trusses, are going to produce hopefully abundance of beautiful tomatoes. So it's at this stage where these flowers are forming that the tomatoes will be coming from these flowers, and it's so important to get them right at this stage. So what we need is to make sure the tomatoes fill the trusses and they're nice and healthy. The main cause of the tomatoes not being right through the feeding not being right is effectively blossom end rot. Now blossom end rot is a calcium deficiency, and what normally happens is the tomatoes seem to be doing well, they'll start to form on the trusses, then suddenly the bottoms of them will become flat and you get a big black spot on the very underneath of the tomato plants, of the tomato flowers. This basically means there's a lack of calcium. Now we still need to get calcium into the plant at this stage because the plants is forming the tomatoes basically through these flowers, and if the feeding deficiency is shown, is not in the plant now, then it means that it's not going to be right down the line. So what I do is we water standardly, how we're watering is standard, we use our liquid seaweed, and then roughly at this stage once a week we'll start and feed with a general purpose plant food. Now when I say general purpose, I usually use something like a 1-1-1 or a liquid Gromo, which is 7-7-7. Now 1-1-1 means equal parts nitrogen, equal parts phosphates and equal parts potash. Now as the tomatoes form and they become bigger and larger, that's the time when we start to put plenty of potash into them. But at this stage we just need to keep the plant generally fed, and we just need to keep it generally balanced with a liquid or soluble feed, and then also once a week we're still going to use the liquid seaweed. So just to recap as well, we've kept the plant tied up as standard, as we discussed last week, a standard loop tie and also a standard tie where the plant's tied to the cane. We've removed all side shoots. Once they get about a couple of inches, it's a little bit small to move at the moment, but once they get to about 2 inches or about that big, now's the time to remove them. So that's a limited damage to the stem, and they're easily nipped out when they're about 2 inches tall. So the plants look well, they're nice and bushy, they're healthy, they're grown well. So the feeding programme should start now in earnest, because as the plants have been in 4 weeks, and these particular grow bags I'm using say start to feed within 3 to 4 weeks. So what I would recommend, as discussed, carrying on once a week with your liquid seaweed extract, just feeding that once a week, and then at the moment then start once a week as well, also feeding with your balanced plant food. I say a 1-1-1, that's basically an equal part of nitrogen, phosphate and potash. You can use something like an 18-18-18, a 20-20-20 if it's a soluble powder, or if you want to use a liquid one, you can use something like a liquid Gromo, which is 7-7-7. So we're going to feed with that once a week until the little tomatoes start to form on the trusses. and then we'll discuss at that stage how the tomatoes should be fed then. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you've learned something about how to grow my tomatoes, and we'll speak again next week. Thanks very much. Bye bye.